Hello and welcome to Feature Driven Development course. In this course, we are going to study what is Feature Driven Development Framework and for which projects it is used and what is the context for using this framework. So when we talk about FDD, this framework is an agile framework. It was actually founded in 1999, but later on it became part of agile frameworks since it has most of the practices which are overlapping with the agile principles. And this is a proven framework. This framework has been used in multiple industry projects and they have realized different benefits when they used this framework. And this framework is a very lightweight framework, very much easy to implement. There are no hard and fast rules. There are very simple principles which are easy to implement. And this framework is known as client centric, like other agile frameworks, because we have seen that even in other frameworks we seek customer feedback very frequently and we try to implement or adapt with the customer needs and what customer suggests in our review meeting. And we try to keep transparency with the customer. We try to provide more and more project information to the customer, and we try to keep all the things transparent so that customer will be happy and he will be very well aware of the status and he will be very well aware like by when which functionality will be available to him. And this framework is also known as architecture centric, which means the whole application is divided into different components, or it is broken down into different components. Each of the component is further broken down into different features, and the development teams, they work on these features, they develop these all features and they release these features iteration on iteration to the customer. And when we talk about feature driven development, like what actually is the main benefit with this framework is the development team, they divide all the requirements or they form a feature list out of the requirements and they try to work on these all features in each of the iterations. For example, if you are constructing a banking application, in banking application there are different features available like cash deposit, cash withdrawal, term deposit, loan dispersal and many other functionalities. So when the development team, they work on a banking application, they try to group those functionality into features, like whatever functionality you have to build in cash deposit, that will be grouped as a feature. And the teams, they will be working on these features. In feature driven development, if you are specifically working on a large projects, in large projects you might be having multiple development teams, and those teams are known as feature teams. These feature teams are the cross functional teams who work on a set of features in each of the iteration, and they coordinate with other feature teams and they try to release or they try to deliver these features at the end of each iteration, or they also plan releases after a couple of iterations or after 3 to 4 iterations and stuff like that. But when we talk about feature driven, here the focus is on feature. Like the teams have to work on features and they have to deliver features to the customer. And how customer is going to benefit with this? Like when you are delivering a complete feature to the customer, specifically in this banking application example, the end user will be able to utilize that functionality to the full extent. And even your customer will be benefited. That is, if bank is your customer, then they will be benefited because they are getting your functionality as early as possible, and that to full functionality. Like if you are delivering a complete feature, then that is going to really add a lot of value to the customer and to the end user. This framework can be used for small projects as well as it can be used for large projects. In large projects, the team is divided into different feature teams. Each of the feature team is a cross-functional team, which is consisting of different developers and other people like testers and the person who does analysis, design and development and stuff. So you will be having mix of all the people. So feature teams are cross-functional teams who will be working on features in each of the iteration. And in this framework, like other frameworks, the focus is on quality. Quality is not the only constraint, or quality is not the only element that you have to look for. You also have to look for other constraints of the project like schedule, cost, risks and even other elements. So when we talk about quality, how you are going to ensure that you deliver a quality output? You need to implement certain practices. For example, test-driven development. Test-driven development is one of the practice in which your testing team will be writing test cases well before writing the code. And they will be forming those test cases in the form of automated test cases, and they might be integrating that with the code so that as soon as your code is ready, your code will be tested and it will uncover most of the problems in the early stage. Yeah, so these are the different practices and these are the different characteristics of feature driven development framework. And as we have understood or as we have studied, like in feature driven development, the development is driven by feature. Like in each of the iteration you are going to deliver features, or your team is going to deliver features to the customer. And when you are delivering a complete feature or a set of functionality to the customer, it is really going to add value to the customer. So this is all about feature driven development, and this was mainly developed for software projects or mainly for Java projects. And since this framework has some correlation with the object oriented concepts, and we know that Java is an object oriented language in which we implement the functionality in the form of classes. So the same correlation it applies to the features, and that is how the development is carried out in this framework. So this is all about feature driven development. In our upcoming session we are going to learn more about FDD framework. Yeah, until then, bye.